Okay, we have got a lot of prep football to get to right now as week number 9 is in the books. That means the regular season's done. Finished, Eric. We move on to the WIAA playoffs. I can't believe the regular season over as quick as it is, but I tell you what, why don't we get to some of the scores? We'll do some of the playoff seedings, all that kind of stuff quickly here. We start in the Big 8 Conference as always, and in the Big 8 Conference, Sun Prairie caps off an undefeated season, conference champions again.
Yep, so they're 9-0. They're the number 1 overall seed. They defeat Madison La Follette. As you see the scores here, Jack Zander goes 8 of 15, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks, which oddly enough, those 2 picks are half of the interceptions he's thrown on the season. He finished second in the conference with 1,200 passing yards, 21 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So a great quarterback there, and then obviously backed up with a couple of great running backs. Draven Peoples, 18 carries or 100 yards and 2 tutties. Maybe
the odd score of the night, Verona, a 7-3 winner. Verona going to the playoffs, but so is Janesville Craig. Craig won, 3 teams in the conference to get there with 4 wins.
Yeah, so we looked at that. Obviously, you think about you normally need to get 5 wins to get into the postseason, but Big 8, you're playing conference games every week, and they go by conference record when you're talking about eligibility to get into the postseason. And then we also have 2 different teams from the Big 8, or 2 matchups between 2 Big 8 teams in the Level 1 playoffs.
Let's talk about those. Yeah, Madison Memorial started the season off 0-3. Coach Adam Smith gets it turned around. They finish 4-2. The rest of the way, they go 4-5, but they got to go and play the Sun Prairie Cardinals.
Yeah, not going to be an easy matchup by any means, but that's at least, that sort of moral victory to get into the postseason, to turn that thing around. They last met in the Level 1 playoffs in 2012, where Sun Prairie won that game 45-20, the matchup between those 2 teams.
Another Big 8 team named the Cardinals. Middleton, they're going to be taking on La Follette. What kind of chance do you give La Follette in that game?
Yeah, it's an 8-1 team against a 4-5 team that squeaked into the postseason. La Follette and Middleton, another team that has recently met in the playoffs. Actually, last year, the Level 2 postseason game. So it was a Middleton win, 22-17. So I guess you'd say La Follette's one of those teams that they get into the postseason and they're always a tough out. So I think it probably ends up being Middleton that wins that game, but I don't count on the Lancers.
Not at all. Craig is at Franklin. You got Madison West hosting Sussex Hamilton, and then also Verona at home against Kettle Moraine. All right, let's turn our attention now to the Badger North Conference. Wanakee, the champs of the North again.
Yeah, they do it again. The top-ranked Wanakee Warriors, they defeat Beaver Dam 45-0. But the Beavers still get into the postseason. What's interesting about this game is you're looking at a Week 9 rematch for the Level 1 playoffs. So that's going to be another one where Beaver Dam goes, all right, 45-0. We wiped that one off the board. That was last week. Now we go on to the postseason where anything can happen.
Yeah, they got to play, though. In Wanakee, again, it's almost like you wish they could stay in the hotel all week long. Obviously, we're not doing that. But Wanakee got to be considered one of the favorites to go all the way in D2. Other teams that make it from the Badger North Conference, DeForest, who we saw in Week 1, did not look good against Oregon. They barely lost after that. The Norskis are looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, the Norskis, I'm looking at, a 6-3, finishing with a 6-3 record. Portage finishing 2-7. It was a 35-28 win for DeForest, so they end up, kind of getting the ball rolling going into the postseason. But you're looking at, that record and going into a postseason berth, and kind of a team where you're not quite in that elite company, but I hate to always say it. It's that time of year where things kind of come together, and if you're rolling like they are going into the end of the season, postseason's where it's at.
Mount Horeb only lost once all year. It was against Wanakee. They're going to host Evansville Albany. We saw Evansville Albany, when they were kind of down and out, they turned their season around. That's a tough matchup for them, though, in the first level of the playoffs.
Yeah, we were talking about that before we came on the air. Like, this is a Mount Horeb Barneveld team that could probably play in Division I football, and they get bumped down to Division III for that matchup. And, you're looking at a team that probably has a good chance of winning the whole thing in their division. Now you're looking at Division III, so Evansville-Albany draws a tough matchup in the Week 1, but,
they usually seem
there he
to.
is.
Yeah,
so.
Badger South now, we go there, and the story in the Badger South, of course, is Monona Grove and Alec Ogden. What a season for the Silver Eagles.
Yeah, he finished with 28 touchdowns and 2 interceptions on the year, and he finished second in the conference in yardage, so an accurate quarterback, obviously backed up with a running back, Jackson Thompson, who's had a good year. He had 8 carries for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns in that win this week.
Yeah, so other 4 and 5 teams, though, from that conference, from the Badger South. You got Watertown, their first year in the Badger South. They still made the playoffs at 4 and 5. Monroe makes the playoffs at 4 and 5 as well. I'm always kind of flabbergasted by this. I don't know how you go 4 and 5 and you get to make the playoffs.
That's one of those interesting sort of things that's there's you have to make 5, get 5 wins to get in, but there's also those exceptions where we need to fill the playoff field. And I'm looking at an interesting matchup too between Stoughton and Oregon next week in the postseason. 2 teams who've had 21 combined playoff games between the 2 teams, but they've never met. And the 2 Badger South Conference rivals, divided by just a few miles, are finally meeting in the postseason.
Yeah, that's one heck of a matchup, and you got to feel good for Stoughton as well. Coach Prawl down there, that is one program that is, really on the come, up and coming kind of a program, going against Oregon. That should be a good one. So, yeah, too bad we can't put that one on the air. Our season of covering games over, but we'll keep recapping it week after week right here, all the way to the championship right here on the Sports News.